What is up, everybody? Welcome to the MMA Engine and welcome to Propability for UFC Charlotte. We have Cyril Almeida going against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. We have a 12-fight card to talk about. As always, we are here with Uncle Weezy. Weezy, what is up? Are you looking forward to the show and looking forward to the card?
I'm looking forward to this card. Yeah, there's some good fights. We lost the Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill fight. That will be the main event of next week, which tells you a little something about next week's card. So let's enjoy this one. We got 2 weeks before the break week, so 2 more chances to stack cash tickets like flapjacks. We're on a bit of a heater right now with our probability parlay, so it's time to make some money, Brady, and let's look at the data and let it be our guide to find these spots today.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part of hitting a PP lately has just been the canceled fights. Other than that, they've been on point lately.
Yeah, absolutely, man. There's a lot of cancellations. Let's hope that's not the case this week.
I hope not. But yeah, we already lost one. We lost the Dern fight. I was actually looking forward to that, but now I get to look forward to it as a main event for next week. We should just take the week off next week, Weezy. Did you see that card?
Yeah, I did. And I was going to max bet Anthony Hernandez around minus 150. And then I saw you open at minus 305. And I was like, okay, looks like I'm not doing anything with that fight. So, yeah, I think I might actually take a very light week next week, because if the UFC is going to force us to work for free at that, I don't think I'm going to do it. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But let's find some ways to make some money on this card, because this is the one that's right in front of our face.
Yeah, it's a pretty good card. I'm actually looking forward to this card quite a bit. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe here to the MMA Engine, leave a comment if you're watching on the replay. It does help us out a ton. Do you want to shout out the chat? We got our guy, Lou Betcha, in the house. We got our Uncle Weezy in the chat as well, hanging out. We got Tommy in the chat. We got Propaholic. We got Jeff. We got Silky B. We got Kyle Lou. We got Tommy Unders. We got Victor DeJesus. We got Bufo on the beat. We got Daz, we got Dixon. What is up, everybody? Be sure to smash the like button. We do appreciate it here at the MMA Engine. All right, Weezy, let's kick it off. We have the first fight on the card. This is going to be a bantamweight fight. We have Jessica Rose Clark going against newcomer Tainara Lisboa. So we have the over-under set at 2.5 rounds, the over 2.5 minus 210, the under 2.5 plus 170. The fight goes to decision minus 190. The fight doesn't go to decision is plus 155. I really don't want to bet this fight whatsoever. There's a ton of missing information. Like Lisboa, she has a 100% finish rate, but she's finishing 100% of trash cans. Every time she fights somebody that's not a trash can, she loses. She lost a decision, and then she got submitted in a couple minutes against Norma Dumont. Jessica Rose Clark, not really a finisher. She has been finished in her last 2 losses by Stolyarenko by armbar in the first round, and then Egger by armbar in the first round. I would be shocked if I had any money on this fight, Weezy, but is there anything like sticking out to the point where you might have to put some money on this one?
We've got a small little trifecta back here for the over 2.5 at minus 210. So at minus 210, we're looking at a 67.74% implied probability. The benchmark for the division, 69.5% of 135-pound fights for women scheduled for 3 rounds go over 2.5 rounds. So we're paying a little bit less than that benchmark, 1.77% less. Rose Clark's fights have went over 2.5 rounds 6 of 8 times, so 75% of the time. So when we take that number and subtract that number, we're getting a positive number. And when we take that number and we subtract that number, we're getting a positive number. So add up the savings, you're looking at about 14.5% savings, and you're laying minus 210. So not necessarily something you're going to go running to the window for, but as a potential parlay piece, it's plus EV. So if you're one of these people that likes to put together parlay pieces here, but, we have to be a little bit careful. Only 1 of 7 of Tainara Lisboa's fights on the regional scene have went over 2.5 rounds. And she's aggressive, Brady. She throws in combination. She's got some power. She's a former Muay Thai striker prior to changing to MMA. She fought Valentina Shevchenko in a Muay Thai fight. But if we go over here and we take a look at Tainara Lisboa and who she's beating, we can find these soccer moms and seamstresses here by the names of Mara Suzumaki, 0-1. That's her only fight, was getting her ass shaved by corner stoppage in round 3 in Pro Fight MMA Brazil. And then we got Deline Cyborg, 0-1 also. We've got Leticia Ferreira in women's fight 1. Let's see. Why is my internet so slow? Yeah, God. Letitia's 1-2. Gloria Amaral is 0-2. And Conceição Oliveira 1-5. Very good seamstress, but not a great fighter, Brady. I heard that Leticia Ferreira is a loving mother, but not a great fighter. So I think we're missing some information here. The data doesn't tell us a whole lot because we don't really know what Lisboa is going to show us here. But, if we want to just kind of look at the tape and stuff, both these ladies are pretty aggressive. Maybe the way to play it would be to go that under 2.5 at plus 170, just because Lisboa has been under 2.5 rounds 6 to 7 times. Maybe she pushes a pace here. Maybe she gasses out or has a gigantic adrenaline dump or has nerves and is unable to perform well. And, but there, like I say, there's a lot of missing information here. The biggest piece of information that we're missing, Brady, is, how is Lisboa going to react to the bright lights, to the UFC debut, to the UFC level competition? Because she did get her ass shaved by one Norma Dumont here in her debut, gave up her back and was choked out literally like 2 seconds later. It was very quick. And then I have no idea who Lorani Santos is, but she's got a good record. She's 6-1, and she's got a warm smile to her, so maybe she's a pretty good fighter too, and maybe that's the reason that she lost. So we're missing some information on one Santos, on what's her name, Tainara Lisboa here, but I'm gonna just stay away from this one.
Yeah, it's such a sketchy fight. She has the worst wins I've ever seen, ever. I thought Jordan Wright's was bad, but this is worse. Like, she could be really good, or she could be really bad. I don't know, because every time she fights somebody, that's an actual fighter, she loses. So we'll see. And actually, kind of surprised money's coming in on the Lisboa money line. I guess they like what they see on tape, which makes sense. She looks good, but anybody could look good. Like if Weezy, if you went against your trash can in the backyard, you probably win, right?
Yeah, I would hope so, man. Otherwise, if not, man, it would be time to maybe like take a trip to the doctor and just see what's wrong. But yeah, I really should try, destroy the trash can, and it would be some highlight reel shit. There'd be body slams, there'd be hip tosses, there'd be a lot of good, accurate strikes, kicks, a lot of stuff, But these are trash cans. She's treating them appropriately is the only thing that we can say, though.
Yep, she's taking out the trash is what I like to say. Jared's saying her resume or Ashkar Mosrov's, probably hers, just because at least she's not lying and making up fake fights. So probably hers, I guess. But yeah, we'll definitely move on. I don't know if I have any money on that fight. We'll move on to the next fight. It's the Brian Battle fight, right?
Yes, sir. Battle Green.
Brian Battle, Gabe Green, the over-under set at 2.5 rounds, the over 2.5 minus 165, the under 2.5 plus 135. The fight goes minus 145. Fight doesn't go is plus 115. This is one of those fights where both guys are very, very good finishers. Both guys have power on the feet. Both guys have a submission game. But the tricky part, Weezy, is both these guys are next level durable. Gabe Green has a chin on him. Brian Battle has a chin on him. So I don't know. It's one where it probably does go the distance, but both these guys have a lot of finishing ability. Just don't know if either guy is going to get the other guy out of there.
Yeah, I agree. And we see here overpriced by 7.12% when we compare the price of the line to the benchmark for the division. And then we get a 7.36 underpricing here, 0.24% underpricing. So it looks like the data has these lines priced about where they should be. It's clear that they're trying to push us a little bit towards these violence betting lines here for Battle at plus 135 and plus 115, as these are underpriced and these are overpriced according to the benchmark. So bookies shading this towards the violent side. So towards the non-violent side, so that they're trying to get people on the violent side. I don't want to really touch this one. I think it goes over, but laying minus 165, in a fight where somebody pressures as much as Gabe Green does, and he's got a little, he's got a slick submission game, as does Brian Battle. He's got some nice front chokes. And both of these guys are good strikers. So, but like you said, Gabe Green is like next level durable. He has been finished a couple of times on the regional scene, but it was a long time ago. Battle is also very tough, and there's no quitting in him either. So, yeah, I kind of feel like the overs are the bets that hit. And according to the numbers, and we've got an 8-fight sample size, we're getting good prices here. So we would expect to see a little bit of an overpricing here. I'm saying maybe over 2.5 is the best bet here, but I'm not going to be running to the window to lay that kind of juice.
Yeah, for sure. I think it probably does go over. Both these guys, like one of their best attributes is that toughness. So it's hard to bet an under when both guys are just so tough. So yeah, probably gonna stay away from that one as well. And I'm probably going to stay away from this one as well, Weezy. We have Mandy Baum going against Gian Kim. The over-under set at 2.5 rounds. I believe this is the most juiced over at -325. The under 2.5 is +250. The fight goes -300. The fight doesn't go is +240. I think this goes over. I really don't see a finish here. So yeah, I think it goes over, but I'm just not touching this fight. Weezy, what sticks out here?
Yeah, I mean, so 9% of the 11 combined fights for Baum and Kim at the UFC level had finished inside the distance. 1 of 11. So you're really taking a risk if you bet the fight doesn't go to decision here. However, both of these girls stink on ice, right? Especially Mandy Baum. And, Gian Kim hits hard. You go and you watch the third round of that Cachoeira fight. There was one point where Gian Kim landed a straight right hand, and Cachoeira just stepped back, and it looked like she didn't know where she was for about two full seconds before she kind of recovered and started getting back into the fight again. But she hits very, very hard. And, I mean, Ariane Lipsky was absolutely piecing up Mandy Baum. Now, Mandy Baum showed a lot of toughness in that fight, but she was dropped twice. And put in some really bad spots. That fight potentially could have been stopped. So I'm thinking maybe the way to play this is, with a Kim inside the distance bet, because she's going to be the much better striker here. And when she's not dealing with the constant pressure, I think she's going to be able to plant her feet and land some big shots. But yeah, I'm like I say, this one here, 90.91%. So 10 of 11 fights have went over 2.5 rounds for these ladies. So it is kind of tempting to parlay this -325 here, because we're only paying 76%, but 90% of their combined fights have went over 2.5 rounds, and they're going over 2.5 rounds when you compare the 90% to the 65% benchmark, 25.94% more than what the division is. So I could see potentially people parlaying that -325, but what if, Mandy Baum just goes out there and gets finished because she's just not UFC level? And that's a definite possibility. Let's look real quick, Brady, at the last 5 names for Gian Kim here. Jocelyn Edwards, Priscilla Cachoeira, Molly McCann, the champion in Alexa Grasso, and the last time she got a garbage fighter in Nadia Kassem, or as I like to call her, Assam, she knocked her out. And I just don't see Mandy Baum being on the level. I mean, Jocelyn Edwards is a very good striker. Throws a lot of volume, good Muay Thai striker. Cachoeira's got a ton of power. Molly McCann, I mean, absolutely wipes the fucking floor with Mandy Baum. And that was a very close fight there. So, yeah, I got Gian Kim. I think there's a good chance maybe she does get a finish in this fight. So the only way that I would really play this is with the unders, with the big plus money spots as a potential, something you put some milk money on to try to get a unit. But, I'm probably going to be staying away from this fight. And maybe I'll take a small shot on Gian Kim by knockout.
Yeah. I'm not betting this one at all. Kim by knockout's only +450 on Bet Online. I was expecting like a lot better than that. Maybe FanDuel will get something juicy, but yeah, +450. I'm okay on that. I'm okay just not betting this fight at all. But I do have some interest in this next fight, I suppose. We have Natan Levy going against Pete Rodriguez, over under set at 1.5 rounds. The over 1.5 -130. The under 1.5 is +100. The fight goes +225. The fight doesn't go -285. Last time these guys were supposed to fight, I straight bet the under 2.5, and then I parlayed the under 2.5. And this time around, I like it even more just due to the fact that Rodriguez had to pull out last time. He's cutting back down to 155. I think it's a great violent spot, but kind of upset with Bet Online opening the fight doesn't go at -285 when it's like -195 right now on 5 dimes. So I'm going to be playing violence here some type of way, but probably not on Bet Online this week.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see where DraftKings opens this over under, whether it's at 1.5 or 2.5. I would really much rather take the 2.5 here just in case, because we know Natan Levy's not a finisher, right? 0 of 3, all 3 of his UFC fights have went over 2.5 rounds, and 3 of his 6 fights on the regional scene have went over 2.5 rounds. So, he's not really a finisher, but Rodriguez is just the opposite. This guy's never even been out of the first round as a professional. As a matter of fact, when we look here, Pete Rodriguez has 6 fights as a professional. His entire pro career is 9 minutes. So, you got a guy whose average fight time is 1.5 minutes going up against a guy whose average fight time is 11.43. And at the UFC level, it's 2.27 minutes average compared to 15. So you're basically asking yourself, which one of these guys sets the pace of this fight? Because if it's Rodriguez and he goes out there swinging and banging and trying to kill this guy with every single punch, I think that there's a good chance that he lands and that he gets a knockout here. And if he doesn't, I think there's a really good chance that this being his first ever cut down to 155, and if it gets out of the first round, his first venture into round 2 as a professional at a new weight class in front of a live crowd here, I think that there's a very high probability of a finish. So at +100, I definitely like the under 1.5. We're overpaying by 17.11%, but we've got a killer be killed fighter in Pete Rodriguez, who's never seen the second round as a professional. We're getting those extra 2.5 minutes. I like the under 1.5. The data doesn't particularly care for it, but I'm just saying that I think that Pete Rodriguez is the one that sets the pace of this fight. I'd love to get an under 2.5 at better than -200 though, because that'd be something I'd be willing to maybe even max bet.
Yeah, right now 5dimes has the under 2.5 at -150, and then SIA Sportsbook has -165 for the under 2.5. So I'm hoping it's at a playable line by the time like either DraftKings or even FanDuel gets it out. But yeah, I'm not sure what Bet Online's doing here, because right now the 5dime still has the fight doesn't go at -195, which would be a very big bet for me.
Yeah, that would be a huge bet for me. And -150 for the under 2.5 would also be a very big bet.
Yep, so we'll see what the other books get it out. But yeah, I do like violence quite a bit in that one there. All right, let's keep moving on. We have another violent fight. We have Ihor Bataria. He is taking on Carlos Ulberg. We have the over-under set at 1.5 rounds. The under is juiced up to -140, and then the over is +110. The fight goes +175. The fight doesn't go is -350. Yeah, I think it does go under, but I don't know about laying chalk on it here. We saw Ulberg go out there and starch Tafon and Chukwu, who I think is much better than Bataria. He starched Nikolai Negamarianu, who I think is better than Bataria and just next level tough and durable. So I think Ulberg probably does starch Bataria in the first round. I think Bataria is going to come after him. Ulberg's going to catch him and land a shot in the first round. So yeah, I like the under as far as I think it hits, but in terms of laying -140, I think I kind of missed the boat. It opened up at +140, and then it went to +111, and it was there for a while. Probably should have hopped on there, but now at -140, I don't have much interest in it. Weezy, what's sticking out here?
Not much is sticking out. The over 1.5 at +110 is kind of interesting. Underpriced by about 6.5% according to the benchmark. Underpriced by 2.38% when we see that 3 of their 6 fights have went over the 7.5 minute mark at the UFC level. So we're actually underpaying when we only pay 47%, but the performance that we have for these guys is 50% on both of their resumes. We've seen Ulberg take his time before, but I mean, I'm not betting the over here. No chance. I mean, because I really do think that Carlos Ulberg is way, way better than Ihor Bataria. And I don't get it, man. So I think that this probably goes under 1.5, but paying minus 140, it's just too much. I think I think at plus 111 where it was, that's a bettable line. If we get that, for instance, we would see that be a lot more playable, right? We're only overpaying by 2% here. We're getting a break here. We're getting a break here. But minus 140 means, we go from 47% to 58%. And it's a huge change in the line. So I'm not touching it. But, fight doesn't go to decision at minus 350, Brady. That's a potential parlay piece.
Yeah, it could very well.
Ihor Bataria is not lasting 15 minutes with Carlos Ulberg.
Unless he Fabio Charants it out there and just does nothing. But that's not his game.
Yeah, it's not. It's not his game. I mean, he would have to pull a William Knight type performance and just literally do nothing and kind of lull Ulberg to sleep for that to happen. But I think Bataria has actually got a little more confidence in his striking than Fabio does.
He has a lot of confidence. He's going to come forward. He's going to go out there and try. Fabio Charant just didn't show up that night, and I did get burned on. I think on the under in that fight as well, so that one hurt. But yeah, fight doesn't go as a parlay piece. It's probably my favorite spot. And then once the other props drop, I'm gonna look at Ulberg, round 1 or round 2, maybe get that near even money. But right now, Ulberg inside the distance is minus 170, and the knockout prop is already minus 150. So yeah, they are onto it, and they agree with pretty much everybody thinks that he's gonna knock this bum out this Saturday.
Yeah, it's a scary proposition, to lay that kind of juice on somebody finishing inside the distance. Minus 170, it's 63%. It's a lot to pay. So yeah, this is I can't do much with this other than parlay that main event, because 5 of 6 of their fights have finished inside the distance. 83%. That means that when we're paying 77%, 78%, it's not overpriced. So let's look at parlaying that one.
Yep. Don't hate it. All right. We'll move on then to the next fight. We have Cody Stamann going against Douglas Silva de Andrade. We have the over-under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 minus 215. The under 2.5 plus 175. The fight goes minus 190. The fight doesn't go is plus 155. And yeah, this fight should go the distance. Cody Stamann's not finishing Douglas Silva de Andrade. And I think if there's a finish, it's on the Andrade side. But Cody Stamann is next level tough and durable himself. I think this fight goes, minus 215. It's honestly not terrible, but anything sticking out here, Weezy?
Yeah, minus 215 for the over 2.5. Overpriced by about 11% when we compare that 68% price when we know that only 57% finish or go over 2.5 rounds. So when we take 57.4% and we subtract 68.25%, we get that negative number. But Stamann's been over 2.5, 9 to 12. It's 7 of 11 for Douglas. That's about 70%, so it's fairly priced, right? 68%, 69%. But I kind of feel like Cody Stamann's never been knocked out, right? And unless Douglas Silva de Andrade catches him in submission, kind of like Nurmagomedov, Cody Stamann in the submission, then that's a possibility. But other than that, I kind of like this one to go over 2.5 rounds. And at minus 215, I don't know if it's necessarily a parlay piece, but I think it's better priced for sure according to the data than the fight goes at minus 190. So I think I would go with it.
Yep. I think that's really the only way I'd really look. I was telling you before the show, I was looking at the Douglas Silva de Andrade finish only as a potential bet, but they placed it at minus 325, which is honestly ridiculous.
It kind of is, yeah. I mean, I understand that, but we know what that means, Brady. That just means BetOnline is telling you to fuck off. I mean, we know when we're being told to fuck off. And for instance, what was BetOnline telling us, Brady, when they priced the Pete Rodriguez Natan Levy fight doesn't go to decision at what? Where do we have it? Let me get the number back up on the screen for you all. What are they telling us, Brady? Yeah, exactly. They're telling us to fuck off. I don't want to fuck off. I'd like to bet that at a price where I'm not being told to fuck off.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be very nice.
Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be nice? But no. They're telling us to fuck off. So I guess I'm gonna have to.
Yep. We might have to on some of these. All right, Weezy, let's move on then to the next one. We got Chase Sherman going against Carl Williams. We have the over-under set at 2.5 rounds, the over 2.5 plus 120, the under 2.5 minus 150. The fight goes plus 150. The fight doesn't go minus 180. I had a bet on the under 2.5 rounds when they were supposed to fight a couple weeks ago at plus 110. And I'm not sure what changed other than the fact that Williams has a little bit more time to prepare. But now instead of getting that plus money on the under, they now have it juiced to minus 150. Therefore, my interest is just completely gone. Weezy, what's sticking out here?
Yeah, I mean, not much really on this one. So I do have a bet though. The last time out, I forget whether it was plus 210. I think we got plus 210, right? For the over or for the under 1.5. I'm sorry about that. For the under 1.5, I think I got plus 205 or plus 210, right? And you look at that, you're getting a 10.5% break. Plus, Chase Sherman, his ground game is trash. So you can kind of overlook these numbers here and know that there's a chance if Williams gets this guy down that he could finish the fight on the ground. But now they kind of shifted the script here, and now I'm getting plus money for an over 2.5 when Carl Williams has been over 2.5 on the regional scene against lower level competition 4 of 7 times. So and for Chase Sherman it's 0 of 13, but all of those fights are so long ago. They're pre-UFC, so it doesn't really mean that much. But Carl Williams has been over 2.5 in his only UFC fight, and for Chase Sherman it's 8 of 14 fights, so 9 of 15 or 60% of their combined fights, which is a 15-fight sample size. So it's a robust sample size here, is going over 2.5 rounds. We're only paying 45%. So that's a 14.55% discount when we compare this number to this number. And it's an 18% discount when we compare this number to this number. So we kind of like these overs. They're fairly priced. And they're a lot because we've seen Chase Sherman fights finish twice in the last 2.5 minutes. We would rather take the over 2.5 than the fight goes to decision, especially against somebody like Carl Williams who could wear you down with that wrestling and maybe make you quit late in the fight if he gets a late takedown. So I bet this one. This is my first time prop that I bet this week. The over 2.5 rounds plus 120 bet online sportsbook. I just got to hope that Carl Williams doesn't, get a ground and pound knockout here because he doesn't fish for submissions. And I don't think that Chase Sherman is a one punch knockout artist at this level. So I like the over 2.5 rounds. If you're giving me plus money, I'll shift my script and I'll pass up on the under 1.5 this week for the over 2.5 at plus money.
Yeah, nothing wrong with flipping the script. They certainly flipped the script, so why not?
Yeah.
I mean, if you bet a Carl Williams over at plus money, more often than not, you're going to hit it. My only concern is Chase Sherman's ground game is the worst ground game I've ever seen. So we'll see. I don't know if I'm touching this one, but I will root for your bet, Weezy. I'm probably going to stay away from this one. But yeah, really, really sad that I lost my under 2.5 at plus money, and it's not even close to plus money this go around. So I'll probably be passing on this one. All right.
But something stylistically, Brady, that I do have to bring up is that, when we saw Fat Collier drown Chase Sherman on the ground, remember, Fat Collier's morbidly obese, right? So his fat, when he's on top of you, it takes the shape of your body. It's going to make you panic when you're on the bottom. Now, Carl Williams is a muscular guy, He's a guy who used to fight at 205. So, I don't think we're going to see Chase really panic when that fat starts to actually suffocate him from the top. So I think that maybe he'll be able to last longer on the ground than he did against Fat Collier.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, I can't get that Collier fight out of my head. He got into mount within like a split second, took his back. But you're right. At least Jay Collier has somewhat of an understanding of some jiu-jitsu. I don't think Carl Williams really does. So I think it would have to be like a ground and pound from Carl Williams if he does finish. But yep, we'll see. It's a very interesting fight. A fight that I'm kind of glad they got rebooked, but a fight that still doesn't make much sense to me in terms of why Chase Sherman accepted it. But we will see what happens. All right, Weezy, we'll keep moving on. Then we have Court McGee going against Matt Brown. We got the over-under set at 2.5 rounds. We got the over 2.5 minus 175, the under 2.5 plus 145. The fight goes minus 150. The fight doesn't go plus 120. This is a weird one to me because we have somebody in Court McGee who always goes to decision, always wins by decision. He's losing by decision more often than not. And then we have a guy, Matt Brown, who pretty much always finishes. He's always getting finished. The guy's been finished like 13 times in his career. So it's kind of a weird one in that aspect. Weezy, what's sticking out here?
Yeah, it's hard because we've got big sample sizes for both fighters. And I do need to have a caveat for this one is that these fights for the UFC level for both Brown and McGee only go back to 2013. So everything that's in the UFC prior to 2013 is not included in the UFC fighter under and over totals here. But Court McGee has had 15 fights since 2013, and Brown has had 13 in the UFC. Matt Brown has a 100% finish rate in his wins. Court McGee has a 0% finish rate in his wins. So as big of a divergence as we could possibly have, right? In addition to that, Court McGee, in his only 2 losses, was finished in the first round by Santiago Ponzinibbio by knockout and by Jeremiah Wells by knockout. So we know that Matt Brown is a very powerful striker. The power is going to be the last thing to go here. But Matt Brown doesn't necessarily last really well late in fights because he's finds himself in so many wars. I think when we looked at the advanced stats, Brady, for Brown and McGee prior to the show, right? See, this is McGee. One loss in 255 seconds, one loss in 94 seconds, and every other fight goes the distance. And then if we go up here to Matt Brown, literally we got 1 decision, 2 decisions, 3 and 4. And he went 5 rounds with Robbie Lawler. He went 3 rounds with Johnny Hendricks. Now, this was in 2014 and 2015. And then since then, in 2021, he went 3 rounds with Condit, and he went 3 rounds with Barberena. Win inside the distance. Loss inside the distance to Baeza. Win inside the distance. Win inside the distance. Loss. Win. All inside the distance. You know, his fights are finishing at an alarming rate. So I think it's interesting. You know, maybe we could see Court McGee get his first finish here since 2013 because Matt Brown does get finished. And we could also see, because Matt Brown has got so much power and drags people into wars, and we've seen Court McGee forget to wrestle before. If that happens, you know, he might get knocked out by Matt Brown. He might get cut by one of those Matt Brown elbows, and we might get a cut stoppage. So I would much rather play the under 2.5 here, because at the over 2.5, paying that kind of juice at minus 175, what if Matt Brown just wants to go out on his shield? He's 42 years old, Brady. You know, I mean, does he really want to fight 15 minutes at this point in his career? I don't think so. I think he wants to go out there in the first round and try to get this shit over with and fight like he's triple parked and get his check. Because I don't think that they pay these guys by the minute. And I don't think Matt Brown wants to be in there that much more at the age of 42.
Yep. I think fight doesn't go plus money, under 2.5 plus money. It makes a lot of sense just due to the fact that if Brown wins this fight, he's probably knocking out McGee. And that if McGee wins this fight, yeah, it's probably a decision, but he could get on top. He could find a submission. Brown's been submitted like 10 times, something like that. And McGee, I think, is a brown belt, maybe even a black belt now. So, yeah, I think a finish could definitely be on the table here, Weezy. It's kind of sneaky. Brown or McGee's not finished anybody, but maybe the first time he does is a 42-year-old Matt Brown.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe Matt Brown brings the kind of fight where this fight doesn't really have any choice but to finish because, you know, we know how Matt Brown fights. He doesn't sit there and try to win decisions. What's Matt Brown in decisions in the UFC? This should be funny.
Terrible.
0-4 in the UFC and 2-6 in his career. He's not trying to fight for 15 minutes. So maybe a plus money spot, Brady. I'm writing this down. This is making it into your Uncle Weezy's notebook this week. Plus 145, under 2.5 rounds, or plus 120, fight doesn't go.
Sounds good. I wrote it down myself, so we'll see what happens with that one. All right, let's keep moving on. Then we have Tim Means going against Alex Morono. We have the over-under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 -165. The under 2.5 is +135. The fight goes to decision -130. The fight doesn't go to decision +100. Morono's a little bit like Court McGee. Like Morono's not much of a finisher, but he does have a lot of power. He has a couple finishes on his record. I think I would lean under on this just due to the fact that I think Means is kind of on his way out. 39 years old, taking a ton of damage. He's been getting hurt a lot in his last couple fights. So I would look at the under here. +100, I was thinking it would be a little bit better of a line than that, but +100, I don't completely hate it. Weezy, what's sticking out here?
Well, so we've got good sample sizes. 24 3-round fights for Tim Means since 2013. 17 for Alex Morono. So we're seeing the plus money numbers here, but I see a better price here than here. I see a better price here than here. And I see a better price here than here. And that's because only one of their 41 fights has finished in the last 2.5 minutes of round 3. Only one. So why pay up 7.5% from here to here? There's no reason to do that. So just to get that extra 2.5 minutes. So I feel like under 2.5 at +135, getting a little bit of a break in comparison here to the under 2.5. We got a -1% here, a -3% here, which means it's a fairly priced line. And in addition to that, we got an old-ass Tim Means. But like you say, Morono, not the best finisher at this level. We've got Morono has got 11 UFC wins, and it looks like he has finished 3 of them. So you're counting on a guy in Tim Means who's been finished 4 out of his 11 losses at the UFC level to kind of get finished here, or for Means to land a big shot. But he lost by split decision to Max Griffin. He got finished by Kevin Holland, but Kevin Holland is a finisher. Daniel Rodriguez subbed him. Nico Price finished him. And then, lost by decision to Sergio, lost by decision to Bilal Muhammad, lost by sub to Alex Oliveira. I'd like it if he could lose by sub, right? But I'm kind of having to count on Morono to knock him out. Even though Morono is a black belt in BJJ, he doesn't use it, and I don't know if Tim Means is necessarily going to be wrestling here. So it feels like a stay away for me, dude. I don't really see anything jumping out off the page here to me. We see, pretty fairly priced lines because we've got a big data set, and these guys kind of price these lines right where the data wasn't giving us much of an edge either way.
Yep, fair enough. I was expecting a better price on the violence, but I'm still probably going to play it. But very disappointed with Alex Morono inside the distance at +185. Like, are you kidding me? So
yeah, I know it's not even close to being fat enough, and you're counting on a guy who's got 3 out of 11 wins to finish another one, and Means has been historically durable. Most of the guys are finishing them by sub, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm staying away from that one, man.
Yep, I'll be betting on it. We'll see if I lose money or not. All right, so we'll move on to this next fight. We have Ian Gary going against Daniel Rodriguez. We have the over-under set at 2.5 rounds, over 2.5 -160, under 2.5 +130. Fight goes -150, fight doesn't go, +120. Seems like a pretty easy over to me, but the only thing is, I think yesterday the over was -130. Now it's -160, so it kind of got smashed a little bit. But even at -160, I think it's probably a bet that hits, but I don't know if I'll play it. Weezy, what's sticking out here?
Yeah, so each one of these guys, Ian Gary and Daniel Rodriguez, has had a fight finish in the last 2.5 minutes of round 3. So if you're looking for that overside, you don't go the fight goes to decision at -150. You just pay up to -160 to get that extra. You don't have to worry about those extra 2.5 minutes at the end of the round where we've seen one of the fights finish, and we've seen one of the fights finish for each one of these guys. And then you look here, 13 fights, 9 of them have went over 2.5 rounds. So that's 69%. We're only paying 61%. So we've got a decent-sized sample here. We know that these guys are going to stand and bang. In terms of, we've seen Ian Gary dropped. We've seen Rodriguez dropped. Rodriguez has been dropped once, and Ian Gary has been dropped once in a combined 13 total fights. So Yeah, I kind of like the overs here. Minus 160 is a playable line for if you're willing to lay juice on that. It's a playable line. Both of these guys are pretty durable. Let me see here. Ian Gary has never lost, so we don't know if he's durable or not. And Daniel Rodriguez has only lost 3 times, and one of them was by submission when he did actually lose to Neil Magny. So, yeah, man, maybe Daniel Rodriguez is getting a little old here at 36, and maybe he starts becoming a little more vulnerable. But, I think that this one probably does go to decision, and the minus 160 is the way that I would play the over here.
Yeah, I wonder if either D-Rod's hurt or if D-Rod's been doing his camp in prison this go around, because D-Rod's now +1 or +260.
I got him at plus 205. I bet 1 unit on him there, and I loved it there. So I don't know what's going on here. This doesn't, I mean, I know there's a lot of hype on Ian Gary, but when you look at when you compare these two on paper, this should be a 50-50 fight.
Yeah,
you can't convince me that just because Ian Gary's younger, that the fact that he's fought much worse competition in his life, and that Daniel Rodriguez does all the things well that Ian Gary does well, in addition to being a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Eddie Bravo, I don't get this line. So I must be missing something.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, is he hurt, or is he coming in here with a bad ankle, a bad shoulder? Like, what's going on? But we'll see what happens. I wonder how wide this line's going to get. Plus 260 now. Interesting. All right, moving on. Then we have this is the Smith Walker fight, right?
That's the one. Yep.
Perfect. We got Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker. The over/under set at 1.5 rounds. The under 1.5 juice to minus 145. The over 1.5 plus 115. The fight goes plus 300. The fight doesn't go minus 400. Where did this under 1.5 open up at? Plus 120. Perfect. And then went to minus 115. Probably could have still been a bet there. Minus 145. It's getting a little chalky for my liking. The fight doesn't go up minus 400. Probably one of the best parlay pieces on the card, though. Weezy, anything sticking out here?
So I'm kind of looking towards the over because Anthony Smith has been over 1.5 rounds 7 of 11 times in the UFC. Now he's going to be facing off against Johnny Walker here, who's only been over 1.5 rounds 1 time out of 8. And that was actually a fight for him that did go all the way to decision. But look, Johnny Walker's only been out of round 1 once in 3-round fights. Think about that. Once. In 3-round fights, this guy has seen the second round. So, and with Smitty, it's 3 of 11. So, 52.63% of these guys' fights have finished in round 1. I feel like that's the way I want to play it, because I think we'll get an 8% cheaper price here. We can get something around plus 100, maybe plus or minus 105, maybe minus 110. And I think it would be a better price to pay because we know that Johnny Walker 87% of the time is finishing in round 1. And I think that, Smitty is not the kind of guy who's going to go out there and get takedowns. So I think that this fight's going to be on the feet and that both these guys are going to be throwing heavy leather. So I like violence here. I just don't want to pay minus 145 for the under 1.5. So I'm going to look for something a little bit better for fight doesn't start round 2.
Yep, I think the fight probably does end in that very first round. And if it doesn't, it probably does end within the next 2.5 minutes. So I get why people are betting the under, but it's kind of got a little bit too chalky for my liking at this point. Yeah, fight doesn't go minus 400 seems pretty safe to me. If this fight went the distance, I'd be pretty surprised. So, yep, violence, another violence option there. And then we have the most violent fight on the main event. We got Cyril Almeida going against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. The over-under set at 1.5 rounds. The over 1.5 plus 165. The under minus 205. The fight goes plus 600. The fight doesn't go is minus 1,000. I think the bookies might be expecting violence here, Weezy.
Really?
I think
they
know.
Might. Yeah. So minus 1,000, overpriced by 10%. Because 80% of heavyweight 5-round fights finish inside the distance. So you're already going to be paying, somewhere in the neighborhood of like minus 600, on average. So yeah, of course we're going to see that minus 1,000. big overpricing here of the under 1.5 rounds at minus 210. But frankly, do we see this fight going over 7.5 minutes? How does that happen? Does Rosenstruik, last 4.5 minutes on the ground with Jailton Almeida? I mean, probably not. He's not a great grappler. How many times has he been submitted, though?
Probably none.
Rosenstruik, 4 losses. It's been knocked out twice, but never submitted. But then again, it's Curtis Blades who's on top of him, wrestling him, and Cyril gone. So those guys, they couldn't submit anybody. So really, yeah, I don't know, man. This is obviously something where we're looking for violence. Minus 210 could even be a parlay piece here. But yeah, you'd have to have balls of steel to be betting this over 1.5 at plus 170. And the fight goes to decision at plus 600 is pretty much dead money, no matter what the numbers say.
Yep, I think it's probably like a round 1 type fight. Either Rosenstruik knocks him out in the first 30 seconds, or probably 15 seconds, because Almeida's going to shoot within the first 15, I think. And then if Almeida gets on top, it's probably going to be wrapped shortly after. So yeah, under 1.5, probably solid. Curious to see where they have like the fight won't start round 3, just to be a little bit safer. Because if this fight reached the 3rd round, I would be fairly shocked and broke, because I'm probably going to have a lot of money on violence here. But as of now, I don't know. I think under 1.5 is probably my favorite spot, but I'm going to look for other props to start dropping.
Yeah, me too. We'll see where the fight doesn't start round 2. Fight doesn't start round 3. We might be able to get it something like 8%. Might be able to get it like minus 280, minus 275, and that could be a good parlay piece, because then Gallatin's got that second half of round 2 to find that submission or that ground and pound knockout. And that would be really, I think that'd be a great parlay piece. So I'm gonna write fight doesn't start round 3, even though it doesn't exist yet, as a potential parlay piece for this week as well.
Yep, could not agree more. All right, Weezy, we went through all 12 fights. A couple of parlay pieces really sticking out. What are you thinking for a PP this week?
So one that fight doesn't go to decision for Ulberg versus Bataria. The over 2.5 for Stamann Andrade is parlayable, I suppose. So is we've got a couple of trifecta bets here, Brady, that I would just want to show everybody. The Clark Lisboa over 2.5 is a trifecta bet at 69.5%, or I'm sorry, it's 67.74% at minus 210. The Kim Baum, good savings here, an 11 fight sample size for the over 2.5 rounds, and it's only overpriced by 11.5%. Also, why not Levy Rodriguez fight doesn't go to decision as a parlay piece?
Yeah, I like those. I like the Baum over. Rodriguez Levy fight doesn't go. What was the other one?
Walker Smith fight doesn't go.
I mean, there's just so many. There's so many to pick from this week. Which one should we do for the PP? It's going to be hard to get 2 in there for plus money, I think. So it might have to be a 3-piece.
Yeah. Why don't we go Levy Rodriguez? Ulberg versus Bataria fight doesn't go to decision.
Okay, so those two together right now are minus 136.
So if we were to add in fight doesn't start round 3 for Rosenstruik versus Almeida, I think we get that to plus money
easily. Yep, because if we had the minus 1,000, fight doesn't go, but it already gets to minus 110.
Oh, okay, yeah. So perfect. At minus 300, that'll be much better than that. So, yep. So why don't we call it fight doesn't go to decision for Ulberg versus Bataria, or fight doesn't go to decision for Walker versus Smith. That could be a potential one as well. And then fight doesn't go to decision for Levy Rodriguez. I love that. And I think we'll even be able to find it better than minus 285.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
So if you had to choose 3 from Levy Rodriguez fight doesn't go, Ulberg Bataria fight doesn't go, Walker versus Smith fight doesn't go, and fight doesn't start round 3 for Rosenstruik Almeida, what would you choose?
I like that. The main event first and foremost, and then probably the Pete Rodriguez fight, and then all comes down to the Ulberg or the Smith fight.
Yeah, which one of these guys, Ulberg, Bataria, neither one of them particularly known for their durability. Smith and Walker, how often do these guys get finished at the UFC level?
Smith's been finished 16 out of 18 losses, and then Walker's been finished 6 out of 8. That's a combined 19 out of 23. That's a lot.
Yeah, and then you even look, it's like 56%, like about 57% of Smitty's losses and 50% of Walker. So they're getting finished too. And they both are pretty good finishers in their own right. I think maybe, but at least if we were to do Ulberg, right, we know that he's minus 170 inside the distance.
Yeah, he's expected.
They're basically saying, that he gets the job done. Which one you're choosing the third leg here?
I would be shocked if the Smith fight went the distance. So I'll go with that one.
Let's do it. That sounds good. Smith Walker fight doesn't go to decision. Levy Rodriguez fight doesn't go to decision. Rosenstruik Almeida fight doesn't start round 3. Violence, and more violence.
Yep. So yeah, lots of violent spots. Chalky, but lots of violent spots definitely sticking out. Weezy. All right. So all that's left is letting people know your plans for the rest of the week, and where can they find you, Weezy?
Yeah, tomorrow night you can find me on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. I'll be going live 10 o'clock Central Time to break down all of these fights on Just the Tip with Uncle Weezy. Give you my ass shaving of the week as well. Kennedy and Chekwu got the job done last week, but Drew Dober got his chin cracked by one Matt Freevola in round 1. So I was 50-50 on the ass shaving last week, but we're looking to get another winning streak going this week. And then you can find me on the Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show with Brady, Gordo, and Monk on Wednesday. And you can find me on my YouTube channel again on Wednesday night talking these fights.
Let's go. And you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I just posted my full card breakdown and prediction video. And then I'll be going live, I think, twice on Friday for Best Bet Friday edition, and then also my final thought stream. So thank you for hanging out with us on a Monday. Best of luck for UFC Charlotte. Should be a good card and should be a violent card. We'll talk to you guys soon. Leave a like. See you.